What's going on, guys? Good morning. Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well, having a good Saturday. A bit of a rare treat today, a bit of a rare Saturday edition of the Morning View. Most of the time, the Morning View is Monday to Friday, but given all of the happenings, given all of the goings on, given all of the news in the world of Manchester United, in particular with all of the takeover drama, of course, myself and Flex did an hour and a half stream last night talking about the bid from the Qatari bid that went in last night for Manchester United for 100% of the club. And then once we finished, it was almost immediate, wasn't it? Because we waited to that 10 p.m. deadline and we went a little bit over, just in case any more news was going to come out. And then next thing you know, we finished up and then bang, just like that, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, his bid from Ineos's bid is official. So we're going to talk about that this morning. We're going to give you some more details, some thoughts, some analysis. We're going to give you some more reaction to the Qatari bid as well as just the general goings on in the world of Manchester United, because there is just so much happening and so much information constantly coming out, statements, manifestos, proposals and plans. I'm going to try my best this morning to cover it all. So be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right hand corner, because as well, there's a little thing called a match coming up tomorrow as well. It's thick and fast. It's not just the matches that keep coming thick and fast. It's also the news that keeps coming thick and fast as well. So be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe as well, bottom right hand corner. See what some of you guys are saying here. Palmeiras says, big up Owen. United supporter says, Ratcliffe doesn't have money. I mean, he's Britain's wealthiest man, certainly. Whether he's got enough money to compete with some of the other potential bidders of Manchester United is certainly out there as well. The Reckoning says, big up Owen, big up people. Lux Hill says, morning broski. Yes, good morning Lux Hill yourself, long-time supporter and mod on the channel as well. Before I start as well, I do want to also say thoughts, prayers and condolences go out to the family, the friends, the loved ones of Christian Atsu. Really sad news this morning. I think a lot of people had sort of thought the worst, considering there was a lot of misinformation out there, certainly, wasn't there, about if he had been found or not previously. Of course, this is in regards to the horrible earthquake in Turkey and Syria, and the news, really sad and tragic news, had come out this morning that he had indeed been found under the rubble and that indeed he had passed away. So incredibly sad. Again, thoughts, prayers and condolences go out to his family, his loved ones, his close ones, as well as everyone affected by that just horrible tragedy. I mean, you know, you see it on the news, and when you see the actual physical pictures and you see the footage, it boggles the mind, and it's incredibly sad. And there are various ways to contribute and donate and offer support, and even if you can't, just sending your thoughts, your condolences also helps as well. So thoughts go out to everyone affected by that, and of course Christian Atsu's family and loved ones. Incredibly sad news, certainly as well. Yes, Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Yes, let's talk about Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Let's talk about this bid that has gone in. Again, it was official last night. It was after, well, I think the bid was put in prior to the 10 p.m. deadline, but certainly the news came out after the 10 p.m. deadline. And let's get into it, because it's quite interesting, not only the bid itself, but actually what he said. And again, this is the really interesting thing about all of this. And it was something that I kind of speculated could possibly happen and would happen, and indeed it is now happening, is that we're starting to see the whole sources close to the bid say, and all of the different outlets are putting out their views, their vision, their manifestos for Manchester United. We saw it last night, of course, when it came to the statement, the Qatari statement from Sheikh Jassim bin Jabbar Al Thani. We saw that statement out there, but also Sir Jim Ratcliffe has also not released a statement of his own, but certainly he has spoken, shall we say. People close to the bid have spoken to certain outlets. So it first came from Tom Morgan from The Telegraph, saying that Sir Jim Ratcliffe has tabled his bid for Manchester United. Again, the news came out just after the 10 p.m. deadline last night. Now, Ratcliffe has told the Rain Group, of course, the people fronting this takeover process on behalf of the Glazer family for Manchester United, Ratcliffe has told the Rain Group he can be the long-term custodian for the club, that's a quote, after receiving Wall Street backing. Now, that Wall Street backing seemingly is from JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs. There had been reports even prior to this bid being made official that that's where some of the funding had come from. He had agreed loans to have some of the required funding. Again, it was stressed that loan was not against Manchester United, rather Ineos. It was then reported by Rob Harris from Sky News, who again has been all over this story from more the financial perspective and from more outside of the sporting world perspective, saying that Ineos has made their bid for Manchester United. It had been submitted. Now, this is quite interesting as well from Tom Morgan from The Telegraph, saying a source close to Ineos said, quote, Ratcliffe's aim is to be a long-term custodian of Manchester United and to set the standard for a progressive approach to club ownership. As locally born, he wants to put the Manchester back in Manchester United. That's really his slogan. And we're at that stage now, I think already, that now that these bids have been put in officially, or even the declaration of interest has been made official, it's almost like, when there's any kind of election going on, whether it's, the prime ministerial election over here in the UK, or whether it's the presidential election in the United States, or wherever it may be, everyone's almost got their slogans. And that's what I saw that as. I saw it as a slogan. He wants to put Manchester back into Manchester United. This comes from Adam Crafton from The Athletic, who was saying sources close to Sir Jim Ratcliffe, the bid, also say that any money borrowed to fund the takeover of Manchester United will be borne by the Ineos group rather than the club, meaning no fresh debt will be added to the club's balance sheet, which again has been a point of contention for a lot of United fans. I think whenever any United fan hears the word debt, or whenever they hear the word loan, or whether they hear, banks, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, it's a red rag, and people go, whoa, 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 debt? You're talking debt? What's going on with that? The Glazers, we've had debt before. We've had bank loans before. We don't want none of that. And I think maybe the hardest thing for Sir Jim Ratcliffe certainly will be, hey, yes, the loan won't be against Manchester United, but a loan's a loan and debt is debt. You're going to pay that off. Ineos is going to pay that off. How's that going to work out? Now, that's just what some people are saying. However, Adam Crafton, as I mentioned from The Athletic, is saying that any money borrowed to fund the takeover of Manchester United will be borne by the Ineos group rather than the club, meaning no fresh debt will be added to the club's balance sheet. Now, what is interesting is that Mike Keegan from the Daily Mail, who of course has been all over this story, breaking a lot of exclusives, in particular to more maybe the Qatari side of things, said that there may well be 2 to 3 rounds of bidding for Manchester United, which would make sense. To be honest, that's kind of what we saw with Chelsea in that, and that's why yesterday was a soft deadline, I assume, right? In that people declare their interest. And again, we don't actually know as of right now. I mean, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens this morning, see if we get any more new information or new reporting comes out. I mean, it's coming out all the time. Frankly, it's quite difficult as a United fan to keep on top of because there's something new every 5 seconds, seemingly. But this soft deadline happened yesterday, a declaration of interest. I don't know how official. Well, they were official bids, but I don't know how far in the process, because if you look at Sheikh Jassim's statement, he was saying, we'll comment more once if we enter more into the bidding process. I'm paraphrasing that. So I'm not sure how far into it is. But there could be a situation whereby after these declarations of interest, the Rain Group get them, compile them, maybe remove some people, and then go back to those interested parties and say, okay, bid. Okay, to actually put a bid in, how high are you willing to go? Go back, have a look at the bids once again, talk to the Glazers. Are you happy with this? Do you want to eliminate some people? Go back again. So it's not completely out of the realms of possibility that there might be 2 or 3 rounds of bidding. However, there's also reports out there that say that they hope that this, or Manchester United expect that this process would be done in around 6 weeks' time, that we'd have new owners by Easter, the first quarter end of 2023. So how quickly are these rounds of bidding going to be? Again, it's difficult to say. I mean, when it does go to the Qatari bid, and we are going to talk a little bit more about the reaction to that a bit later on in the show, but as has been the case, I think, from the beginning, and once again, Mike Keegan from the Daily Mail reporting this, the Qataris are confident they will prevail with their bid for Manchester United, which they have been from the start. I mean, there was this expectation that they feel that their bid would blow anyone out of the water. And of course, if it does get into a bidding war, you would assume, certainly with the finances and resources available, they would win that one. Now, steering it back to Sir Jim Ratcliffe, once again from Rob Harris of Sky News, he has said that a source is calling Jim Ratcliffe's bid a, quote, British bid to make the club a beacon for modern, progressive, fan-centred approach to ownership, which is, again, kind of the same from what Tom Morgan was saying from The Telegraph, talking about a standard for progressive approach to club ownership, and also talk about locally born, wanting to put the Manchester back into Manchester United. So that's certainly his, again, it's almost his slogan. That's his approach to this bid. He's stressing that he's a British person who's making a British bid. It's a British bid. I mean, it's no coincidence that they're the first two words there. It's a British bid. He's locally born. He's from Greater Manchester, and he supported the club his whole life. And he's doing his best, in the same way that with that Qatari statement last night, there were lots of buzzwords that lots of fans liked as well when they heard about investment in the community and talking about removing debt and investing in the academies, a focus on youth. These are all buzzwords because, it obviously, it doesn't, and this is going to be, it's almost quite a crazy thing for me to say actually, but in essence, to the overall bidding process, the Glazers could care less about who the fans really want. It's about money, right? It's about who's going to bid the highest price. But also, whoever does win this process, and let's face it, it's almost a competition. Whoever does win this bidding process, they've got to then take on a club and they've got to try and have as much fan support as possible. And every single bid involved is going to have their detractors, and every single bid is going to have, oh, I didn't want them to win it, or I don't know about this. And these slogans or these manifestos that are being put out there is to win the court of public appeal. They want to have a groundswell of support behind their bid. Same as the Qatari statement last night. Wants to get fans on board. These sources close to Jim Ratcliffe saying, progressive fan-centred approach, a British bid from a local person. It's all by design to try and get people on board. Sheikh Jassim is a Manchester United fan. He became a Manchester United fan in 1992 when he was 10. So, he's got the 9-2 foundation that he's going to invest back into the club by. That was, his certainly his manifesto as well. So Jim Ratcliffe, as mentioned, his bid is now officially in. We don't really have too much more information than what I just read out, basically saying again that the debt wouldn't be borne by Manchester United rather than by Ineos, and his approach to it is this fan-centred, progressive approach to club ownership, and that it's a British bid. I think, again, that's his angle that he's going with from a local person who's been a fan for his whole life, certainly there as well. Let's get some of your comments up on the screen. As always with these solo shows, try and make them as interactive as I possibly can. See if I can go back, though. I want to get the super chats in the right order. Here we go. Pav says, from Sky Sports reporter, Ineos will have questions to answer about accusations it uses sport to greenwash its image as an operator of polluting industries. Unlike Qatar, Ratcliffe never mentioned investment. And look, and these are all of these kind of questions. And again, I think it's important to be fair with all of this. I think it's important to be fair. There are going to be conversations, positive and negative, about every bid. Every bid, and they're going to range from many different facets of this. They're going to range from serious political issues to more mundane football issues, and I think it's important that they're all discussed. And I think it's important that they're all discussed, though, in the right way and in a civilized manner, and having a proper dialogue and a proper discourse. And I think, again, it's important that we approach all of it with as much of an open mind as we can. I think everyone's going to have their different opinions and different preferences, certainly, and something that Flex and myself kind of touched on last night, that it's in our name. We're Manchester United, and for me, it would be a shame to have an issue that has united the fan base for 15 plus years, which is we need the Glazers out of Manchester United, that process of finally getting them out then divides the fan base or fractures the fan base even more. And I do think there will be questions to answer, but again, for every single bid. And I do think it's important that they're all discussed. And as I also said last night, and this is kind of honestly where I kind of sit on it at the moment, and you can say, oh, you're fence sitting, Owen. I don't know how I feel about a lot of the bids, honestly. I don't. I'm still trying to sort of dissect, and trying to get more information, honestly, because this is still preliminary stages. This is still, again, manifestos being put out there, and you have to read all of them. And there are still some bidders that I don't think have been made public just yet. I'm speculating here when it comes to maybe Saudi Arabia or these US consortiums. I want to hear what everyone has to say. And then I want to try my best to make an informed, educated decision or conclusion about all of these bids. Which one do I think is the best for Manchester United? And again, I don't know if that's even possible at this point in time, honestly. Red Baron says, excuse me, but says, I'm not sure about this Brexit Tory guy. No good options for me. Red Baron making his thoughts clear about Sir Jim Ratcliffe. And he also says, does he know Manchester is multicultural? I mean, that was something that a lot of people said last night about that aspect of it, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, by saying that it's a British bid, and the thing is, I say this a lot. I do say this a lot, and I really don't want people to take this as, oh, you don't want Sir Jim Ratcliffe in, because I'm not saying that, but I've always said about that whole support your local thing, or you see it sometimes here on YouTube, or you see it on social media, right? When you're talking about United, and they'll say, oh, that's an interesting Manchester accent you have. You'll hear that, and you'll go, but what? Because I'm not from Manchester, I'm not allowed to support Manchester United. Manchester United, the juggernaut that it is based on the fact that it's a global club. I mean, it's got supporters on every single continent, probably in every single country. That's why we're seeing the value of bids that we're seeing. That's why we could be seeing, and we probably will see, a world record fee for a sporting enterprise. Is because it's a global juggernaut. It's because it's this, mammoth of a global club, and it's got fans from all over the world. And as I've said before, overseas fans are some of the most dedicated fans in the. I mean, they'll put some fans over here in the UK and locally to shame with the amount of effort and amount of dedication they have. You try waking up at 3 a.m. in the morning to watch a Premier League match where United lose to, let's say last season, Leicester, 4-2 away at the King Power, and you got people staying up or waking up early to watch it. That's following your team as best as you can. There is no fine or definite way to follow your team. You can do it in your own way, and certainly some people, they don't have the capabilities to go to Old Trafford or be in Manchester. It doesn't make them any less of a fan. And I think that's also right for the bidding process. Of course, people that were born in Manchester or live in Manchester, of course they know. They might know the city better, and they might know, certainly how to invest better in certain areas of the city or what the city needs. But that doesn't mean that people outside of Manchester or outside the UK can't. Immediately should be written off. As I said a minute ago, I think, in my opinion, that all of the bids have to come in, and you have to assess all of them individually, have their pros and cons, and make an educated decision. But a lot of people are using a lot of buzzwords, and that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to win over certain people by saying certain things. Viper says, in reality, Man United need Qatar spending power as City did. And again, with that. For me, it's more than that. I know that with the Qatar thing, people get excited because they think transfers, and transfers are just that part of football, honestly. And I know that people do get excited, and I'm sure we'll see it. As I said yesterday, I'm sure we'll see the graphics put on social media, and then the papers, they'll go, this is how Manchester United could line up with Qatari ownership, and they have like Mbappe in there, they'll throw in Messi, and they'll get every best player in the world. They'll do that, and people will see that, they'll go, oh my God, we want that. And for me, it's not about that. It's not about that. As I said, it's not about money. It's about strategy. Now, you could argue those things do go hand in hand, because, you know, to have the best strategy, sometimes it is preferable to have the most money. Not all the times, though. It's not all the times. You know, we have seen the likes of City and PSG, whilst they have been successful in essence domestically, in terms of continentally, in terms of European competition, they still haven't won the Champions Leagues that they respectively desire. So it's about more than just, let's just buy a load of players. What I want to see from any owner, whether they're Qatar, whether they're Sir Jim, whether they're Saudi Arabia, whether they're US, whatever your preference is, what I want to see is them improving Manchester United, of course, on the pitch, but off of it as well. I want to see that improvement in the stadium. I want to see that improvement in the training ground. I want to see that improvement in the local community in Manchester and all of those projects that United supports. I want to see investment, as I said, in the women's team, in the academy, in everything. But it's also important to keep the fundamentals and morals of the club intact. Is that possible with any of these bids? I don't know. I don't know, to be honest with you. But what we are sort of seeing, certainly, again, is this posturing already in the media with all of these parties about what they can bring to the table, what they're going to offer to the table. Because, again, when it comes to Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and I think, again, that's why, you know, make no mistake, anything that's now released to the media or the press is incredibly calculated. And as I said before, when it comes to Qatar, I think the reason why this one has got the most headlines, that bid, is because, one, obviously, there's a lot of political discourse that goes around that, especially, you know, it was there during the World Cup. Obviously, that's going to be a part of it. But also, I think the reason it's taken up a lot of the headlines and a lot of the back pages and a lot of social media is because, realistically, most people know that, again, if it does become a bidding war, and if the Glazers are just saying, all we care about is who is willing to go the highest, Qatar has the capabilities to go higher than anyone else. And that's what's been reported out there. They feel that their bid will blow everyone out of the water. Now, Jim Ratcliffe probably would be thinking from a more calculated point of view, well, there is a limit to how high I can go. Yes, I've secured funding from JP Morgan. Yes, I've secured funding from Goldman Sachs. But even I, Britain's richest, wealthiest man, can only go so high. What I can do is try and galvanize a groundswell of support in the fan base. I can use these statements, I can use these buzzwords, and I can maybe get people on side. And maybe, just maybe, that might force the Glazers' hand, or maybe that might, you know, have the Qatar bid to backtrack a little bit if they feel that they're not wanted. I don't know. That's maybe his strategy. And make no mistake, there will be considerable strategy in all of these bids. And there would have been meetings, and there would have been not only meetings financially, but David Hellier said it from Bloomberg, there'll be meetings with PR firms. How's the best way to approach this? What's the best thing to say? What's the best language to use? And none of this is spur of the moment. You don't sort of spur of the moment, you know, embark on a £4 to £5 billion takeover process without consulting numerous people. I'm sure there's been meetings going on for weeks, months about, okay, what's the steps that we have to take when we put in the bid? What statement do we release? When we release the statement, what do we say? What are the things we want to hit? What are the bullet points we want to hit in whatever we release to the media? That's all part of this process as well. And again, we're only in my opinion, preliminary stages. As Mike Keegan has said, we're going to see multiple rounds of bidding now because of the interest is there. Simon Stone said that from the BBC too, that, you know, despite those sort of initial reports that maybe there wasn't a huge amount of interest, they're quite wide of the mark. There's multiple people interested, and because of that, the Glazers' position certainly is strong because they know, okay, we can kind of push some of these people against each other and we can make the most money possible. I think one thing seemingly feels certain at this point is that all this kind of chatter about partial sales or minority stakes, that feels pretty wide of the mark at this point. That feels like very unlikely. With the amount of people that seemingly are interested, with the big hitters that are interested, it does feel unlikely that any of this sort of partial sale, minority stake nonsense is going to happen. But this is Manchester United, and this will be filled with twists and turns, in my opinion. VK's been a member for 8 months. Appreciate 8 months of support. Says, there are men who made billions, and then there are common fans. Just saying, as most of us don't even know what having 1 million in our accounts looks like. Well, this is the thing. Again, this is wealth that is almost difficult to wrap your head around, certainly, isn't it? And even billions. And again, when it goes to the Qatari one, that's wealth that we really can't almost picture in our minds, you know. It's kind of wild, isn't it? Be sure to smash a like on the like button. We're about less than 20 viewers away from 1,000 people watching live. So if you haven't already, click that like button. It's all good for the algorithm. Brings people into the discussion that we're having this morning as well. And be sure to subscribe to bottom right-hand corner. There is plenty of UV content on the horizon today, tomorrow, and as we get... it's every day at the moment, certainly, isn't it? Of course, tomorrow's match day, so we've got match view, road trip, fan views, all that fun stuff. Later today, there is going to be a preview dropping. Don't think we've forgotten the preview, because we haven't. We haven't forgotten the preview. That's coming. Of course, all of the fallout from the Barcelona game, that already feels like that was only, 2 days ago? It already feels like a lifetime ago. I don't think that's happened in the last 48 hours. So that's still up on the channel as well. There was the Barcelona mega vlog that went up last night, which I've seen a lot of comments. A lot of people really enjoyed that vlog, particularly Fleck calling Benny McCarthy Quinton. Oh, man. I really, really, really hope that he sees Benny McCarthy again. There needs to be a reuniting of them. There needs to be an apology. There needs to be... Oh. Oh, man. It's one of those ones about he was so confident when he said it. I mean, proper... You're right, Quinton, you're right. It's twice. It's the double down. It's not once. It's twice. But you know what? I'd rather that happen than him say Benny and shake his hand. Because if he said Benny and then, hey, Benny, and he went, oh, you're right, mate, Flex, how's it going? And they did all that kind of stuff, then I'd be worried. And then if Marcus Rashford stopped scoring, I'd say, Flex, you are a disgrace, you're a cheat. But that didn't happen. So if anything, actually, you know what? Well done, Flex. Maybe, he says, I can't believe I said it. I don't know why I said it. I think deep down, it's almost a Freudian slip. What it is himself... Deep down, in his heart of hearts, he knows, you know what? The judge is real. The power, I can't control this power. I've got no grip on this power. I don't know what to do with it. I mean, we still don't really understand it. This is powers that we've never seen on a scale that we've never seen before. So subconsciously, he said, you know what? I'm going to call him the wrong name so he walks past me so I don't touch him. Because if I touch him, who knows what will happen? And he's right to. He absolutely is. So, good. Well done, Flex. Well done. You should be very proud. Be very proud of yourself for calling him the wrong name. Red Baron says, don't cover for him, Owen. Well, Just Kevin says, I love Benny. Lux Hill says similar theories. Says maybe the judge won't work because he used the wrong name. I think these might be loopholes. These might be loopholes that we can look into. These might be ways to sort of get around these judge issues. Michael says, Owen covering for Flex, what a disgrace. I don't even know if it is that, to be honest. Again, you think I'm joking. Legitimately, I'd be more worried if he'd said this right name and he shook his hand. I'm not even bantering. There's no bullshit going on here. Legitimately, I'd be more concerned. I'm more happy that he didn't actually physically touch Benny McCarthy. Marcus Rashford's the most informed player in Europe right now. Yeah, I said it. And Benny McCarthy's been a part of that. So is Eric Ten Hag, but Benny McCarthy's been a part of that too. I don't want Flex going anywhere near him. No, nowhere near him whatsoever. Not at all. That's fine. All Elite, one of our members, says, let's talk about Flex's Neville impression. Goal. You know what? No joke. That is really good. Like me, I was speaking to him yesterday and I went, you didn't realise that's really, really good. Big trouble. It's proper. It's very, very good. Well done, Flex. That is excellent. I enjoyed that tremendously. Big trouble. What else are we going to talk about? Oh, yeah. So obviously, we've spoken about the Sir Jim Ratcliffe bid there. It is official. Just if you are joining us in the last couple of minutes or so, I'll go through the Jim Ratcliffe information just once more. saying that Sir Jim Ratcliffe has tabled his bid for Manchester United. Ratcliffe has told the Rain Group he can be the long-term custodian for the club after receiving Wall Street backing, that being from JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs. Of course, this bid is from Ineos on behalf of Jim Ratcliffe. Well, it's Ineos' bid fronted by Sir Jim Ratcliffe. A source close to Ineos said his aim is to be a long-term custodian for Manchester United and to set the standard for a progressive approach to club ownership. As locally born, he wants to put the Manchester back in Manchester United. Sources close to Sir Jim Ratcliffe bid also say that any money borrowed to fund the takeover of Manchester United will be borne by the Ineos Group rather than the club, meaning no fresh debt will be added to the club's balance sheet. And another source is calling Jim Ratcliffe's bid, quote, a British bid to make the club a beacon for a modern, progressive, fan-centred approach to ownership. What I will say is it doesn't really go as far as the statement that was released last night by Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani, in that it went into more minutiae, it went into more detail about what the actual plans were in terms of investment into the club and all that kind of stuff. So I would argue that that might be the next step, honestly, when it comes to all of that. But I'm sure, as I mentioned, I do think that will come out in the next couple of days. Just to give a bit more of a line on that Qatari bid that went in last night. Now, obviously, the bid itself reportedly wasn't a world record bid. However, there was a discussion that a world record bid could indeed be made. This came from Kaveh Solikov from Sky Sports, saying Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani is prepared to pay a world record price for a sports club to buy Manchester United. The bid he's made is indicative at this stage because he's not been given access to accounts, commercial contracts, etc. Which is interesting because I had assumed that all that information was in the data room that had been accessed by all of the interested parties. I thought the whole point of the data room was you saw basically everything, and then you did your due diligence and all of that information, and then you came up with a bid that you felt was reasonable based on the numbers that you had seen there. Maybe he would like to see more information, maybe he would like to see more data, but certainly it is quite big there that Kaveh from Sky is saying that he's prepared to pay a world record price for a sports club, which I believe is about £5 billion. I think the record was it 4.5? Might have been $5 billion dollars or something like that. I mean, you can let me know in the live chat, certainly. But by all accounts, the desire to pay a world record fee is there. Now, of course, if you did miss it all last night, there was the bid that came in from the Qatari side of things, and this was something that had been, very heavily-handedly hinted at. Heavily-handedly hinted at. There's a lot of H's there. Triple H. The night prior to the Barcelona game and afterwards, and it was saying that again, Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani, the chairman of one of the Qatar banks, QIB, had made a bid for Manchester United. This came from Sky Sports. This came from the Financial Times. There was a statement that was also released last night too. We'll read it again here, saying Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani yesterday, confirmed his submission of a bid for 100% of Manchester United Football Club. The bid plans to return the club to its former glories, both on and off the pitch, and above all, will seek to place the fans at the heart of Manchester United Football Club once more. The bid will be completely debt-free via Sheikh Jassim's 9-2 Foundation, which will look to invest in the football teams, the training centre, the stadium, and wider infrastructure, the fan experience, and the communities the club supports. The vision of the bid is for Manchester United Football Club to be renowned for footballing excellence and regarded as the greatest football club in the world. More details of the bid will be released when appropriate, if and when the bid process develops, which again is a key aspect of that. It's that last tiny paragraph there. More details of the bid will be released when appropriate, if and when the bid process develops. Goes to show, as I was saying earlier on, that it is still somewhat preliminary in the bidding process. There's a statement of interest, there's a statement of intent. There might even be some figures put out there. I mean, I saw last night there was reports in France saying 4.5 billion pounds, 4.5 billion euros, 5 billion euros, which would be around 4.5 billion pounds. The Glazers reportedly were looking for that sort of 5 to 6 billion pounds. So again, there might be an aspect of negotiation. There might be, again, I think this is where this sort of the 3 rounds of bidding process comes in. Because they might want to drive up that price, certainly. And again, it's certainly very, very interesting, very curious. And a bit more information. This came from Ben Jacobs from CBS Sports, saying that a bit more info on Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani. He's a lifelong Manchester United fan and chairman of Qatar Islamic Bank. He was UK educated at the Royal Military Academy. He was previously a board member of Credit Suisse Group. And again, there was lots and lots and lots of discourse and discussion coming out about this last night. It was really interesting what Simon Stone was saying also, when he was saying that obviously the statement that initially came out from United on behalf of the Glazer family in, what was that, November, December? Was it during the World Cup? I think it was just at the start of the World Cup, right? And talking about strategic alternatives, which is the business buzzword for we're exploring a sale. And strategic alternatives is very carefully calculated, because essentially it's, we're not up for sale, but we are up for sale because we want to make sure that we get the highest price possible. If we say we're up for sale, we're looking for people to buy the club, our position from a negotiating point of view is weakened, so it's difficult to ask for a higher price. If we make it look like that we're just exploring the possibility, we're uncertain if we want to sell. We're not even sure. You're going to have to make us a really good offer to change our minds, because we might stay, and everyone knows that the Glazers are not going to stay because they can't afford to stay, unless the only way they would stay, again, is minority ownership, minority stake, which feels very, very unlikely considering the fees involved here. But Simon Stone did say that the Glazer family's position had always been about strategic alternatives, including investment for a partial stake. But after that bid last night, and I guess the bids from everyone involved, it's fair to assume that the bid, particularly the Qatar bid, would have not been made without a strong belief that the family is going to sell up. Of course, we have seen pictures previously of Avram Glazer in Qatar. Make of that what you will. Whether that's favourable for that Qatari bid or not, I don't know. Again, I don't know how much the Glazers will care about pre-existing relationships or friends or anything like that in this one. They'll care about money. It's always been about money. That's what this whole thing is about. The reason they're selling is because the money that they could make from Manchester United, they can no longer make. Those dividends, they had to get blocked this year, because, again, there was no money to take out. And money has to be invested. And that's what made it such a curious, takeover process in the first place, because unlike maybe some other takeovers of clubs, a lot of the time, when you're bidding for these clubs, whether they're football clubs or NFL franchises or NBA teams or whatever, baseball, whatever it may be, usually you're sort of thinking to yourself, okay, we're going to spend this amount of money buying the club. Yeah, there'll be a little bit of investment, but the bulk of this is going to be, we're going to get the club. But with United, there's this huge amount going on the club itself and wiping out the debt and rah. But at the same time, it's also, geez Louise, there's so much money that has to go into the stadium, the training ground, and all of the respective teams, academy, women's team, infrastructure. It's a ginormous project. It's a huge project, and it was going to be really interesting. Again, almost to go back to Jim Ratcliffe's bid as to who can afford that. Who can afford just to buy the club in the first place, but then who can afford to invest in it? And that was one of the legitimate questions. David Hellier said that is going to be a question that I do legitimately really hope that I don't know how possible it is to see any interviews, because my feeling is that when you're really into this sort of takeover process, that there might be confidentiality agreements, and I'm not sure what the rules will be or what the legalities might be about doing interviews, going public, about in depth about what they want to do or the process. I mean, I suppose, Sheikh Jassim did release a statement, so who's to say that they can't do an interview? But when it came to Sir Jim Ratcliffe, legitimately, I would love for him to do an interview, and these sort of more pressing questions, I'd love for him to be asked about them, honestly. I'd love for him to be asked, you went in for Chelsea way after the deadline. Some people said that was to sort of signal to the Glazers that you had money and funds available and you were open and willing and able to buy a football club. Other people look at what you said during that Chelsea bid, where you said that you was a Chelsea season ticket holder and you did own a house, a property in Chelsea, and you had Chelsea businesses and you were a Chelsea fan. So whilst you're saying that you're a lifelong Man United fan and you've had season ticket to Manchester United and you're a local person, what about this stuff? And I guess maybe just as importantly, there's a huge amount of investment that's required in lots of aspects of Manchester United. can you afford that? Can you afford that? In your statement, you spoke about, a progressive, fan-centered approach to ownership. What do you mean by that? And not out of any, we want to expose this guy. This guy's a fraud. Blah blah blah. No, it's just more of expand. Tell me what you've got. This whole thing, certainly to the fans, and maybe this is what the fans should do. Almost like an interview process. Tell me about that. And the same for the Qatari bid. Any reservation, I hope they do an interview as well. And I hope that they're asked about the pressing concerns that fans have. Tell me about that. Address these concerns. Win us all over. Because this is I can't speak for the fan base, and I never want to do that because I'm not respectful of the entire fan base. Everyone's got their own opinions. But at the same time, there will be a lot of people about every single bid. There'll be people that are skeptical and people that are uncertain and people that have issues. And if we've gone through such a long period of time where we've had no communication from the people that own the football club, that start as you mean to go on, right? Start as you mean to go on. Speak with the public, speak with the fans, and put out there what your plans are, and I mean that for every bid. I mean that for Qatar. I mean that for Sir Jim Ratcliffe. I mean that for a Saudi bid if it comes in, for any US consortium. Put out there. See what are you going to do? Because even with, like I said, with the Jim Ratcliffe statement that was put out there last night, it said fan centered. It wasn't. Certainly it wasn't as in depth as that, and it wasn't even a statement. It was according to sources close, but it wasn't as in depth. And as I said earlier on, for myself personally, I want to try and listen to what every bid has to offer, what every bid's plans are, and then try and make the best and most informed position possible. And I think the only way to do that is to get as much information as possible. But that's just me. I mean, again, people are going to have lots of different and conflicting viewpoints on this. And again, and that's fine. And it's also fine not to know what your opinion is on a lot of it until, again, more information comes to light. We've got over 1,100 people watching, just only 200 likes. We can get to 250. We can get to 500. Absolutely, we can. No doubt about it. We can get to 500 likes. I'm sure of it on a morning view, a rare Saturday morning view stream. So if you haven't already, click the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right hand corner. Remember, you can also join the UV Members Club. Links in the video description. It's also the pinned comment in the live chat. I'm not going to spoil anything, but as I mentioned yesterday, I did watch Ant-Man Quantumania, and I'm considering doing a review for the UV members in the UV Members Club. It would be, I guess, both a spoiler-free and then spoiler review. It would be very heavily like, this is when the spoilers start, cut off at this point, all that kind of stuff. No spoilers in the chat, obviously, keep it fair. But I'm thinking of doing that if that's something that you guys are interested, the members, if you're interested in. I don't want to, I'm not going to spoil it too much, but if that's what you guys want to see. I mean, I want to do loads more stuff on the Members Club. I've had quite a lot of ideas recently. We did a Q&A. It was a week today. We did a Q&A, and that was a lot of fun. I want to do a lot more of them. We've got lots of really exciting stuff planned for the members as more members join and it expands and grows, and the UV community is absolutely incredible. So I want to do right by you, and if you like that kind of stuff, then let me know, because I mean, some people as well, actually, to be fair, and I think that's why it's important with certain reviews. I think the way to format it would be non-spoiler at the start and then get into spoilers about halfway through, because some people might want to see the non-spoiler review to know if they want to go watch it. They might go, I've been seeing some things, hearing some things. Is it something that, I'm not really sure I want to go into, blah, blah, blah. So, I don't know. Tank Sherman says a movie watch along. Well, that might happen in the future. Thing is, I don't want to watch a film with Fleck, because when the Obi-Wan series was out last year, after we had a thing, because it came out on Wednesdays, didn't it? I think it came out on Wednesdays, and we would do the show, and then afterwards, Josh would walk into the studio, he'd turn all the lights off, and we'd watch the Obi-Wan episode that had come out that day. And Flex one day was in the room, and that, like, when you're watching a film with like your parents or maybe your significant other, and they don't really watch that program or that film, and for like 15 minutes they are asking 10 million questions. 10 million questions. Who's that? What are they doing? So is he a good guy or is he a bad guy? Did they used to be together? Do they like him? what's going on with that person's face? Why is he like Darth Vader stuff? Why is he wearing a helmet? Who's Anakin Skywalker? And he's going, oh. And then eventually, he got up and he left the room. He went, I'm getting something to eat, and he left. And then he came back in like 10 minutes later or 50 minutes later. When he came back, he went, what's going on? What did I miss? And then he was eating the whole time. I was like, oh. Which I guess is a lot of fun to watch. If that, if you wanted to watch that. But oh my goodness, it was frustrating. You want to sort of focus and watch the whole thing, you know. Big up Flex. I think he's on actually Saturday Social at the moment, so big up Flex certainly as well. But it was very frustrating. But again, I think the UV Members Club there's untapped potential there. Anything can and will happen in there. So if you don't want to see those reviews, whatever, let me know. I'm more than happy to do sort of a 10-minute review of my thoughts on the film today. Yeah, but again, we'll see what happens there. What else are people saying here? There's again, and I think it's important, and this was something that Flex pointed out yesterday, and it's almost upsetting that you have to remind people, but unfortunately you do. Keep it civil, and use the appropriate language. Again, it's fine to be opposed to any of these bids. It's fine to have conflicting feelings or be, as I said, against or not want certain bids, but I mean, please keep it civil, and please use the appropriate language. Please have the appropriate discourse and discussions with people. Also understand that people aren't going to agree. Not everyone is going to universally agree on any of these things, right? And I think that's important as well, certainly. And Red Baron is right, though. Compared to football Twitter, this is heaven. That is true. I mean, I don't know about... Well, not even football Twitter. Twitter in general. Oh, my goodness me. You log onto it on your phone or whatever, and you go, no, that's me done today. That's me done for today. Palmyra says, I personally don't watch Marvel films and stuff like that. I'd prefer members content where we get to do more Q&As, learn more about people on United View, maybe some challenges, etc. Well, again, it's all of the above. It's all going to be coming. All of the above. Like I said, that's just one aspect of things. But yeah, lots more coming to that. And as I said, I think that the beauty of it is that it doesn't have to be football related or anything like that. It can be anything. Speaking of which, Matt Collar is the latest member of the UV Members Club too. Big up Matt Collar. Welcome, as V Cobra says. Tank says, I want a UV Sports Day. Well, I'd have to do a lot of training. A lot. I think Marcel would win that one. Marcel would do the heavy training. I mean, he was training for Toca Social. He was doing shuttle runs for Toca Social, kicking the ball against the wall. Big up Marcel, certainly as well. So yes, that is kind of the latest when it comes to this takeover process. I'll just check if there's any more news this morning. I mean, again, it's constantly coming, and don't be surprised as well if we see more news stories about different people, because it's really what we've only really seen is these two bids made public, and that doesn't mean it's the only two. So obviously we've seen the Qatar, maybe that's been the most public one in terms of a statement. We've seen Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and that's been sources close to Ratcliffe saying things. That doesn't mean that there haven't been more bids. Again, I can't say for certain whether there have or haven't been. I would be really surprised if after that soft deadline of last night there were only two people that expressed interest. I think it most likely could be more of that. At the same time, again, I think that expect more, and again, this is just the beginning. Expect more statements. Expect more information about what people have plans. I mean, it's just been reported in the last 5 minutes or so, as I'm live here, from the Daily Mail, saying that Qatar's proposal includes an emphasis on going for young signings and a long-term project. Expect more of that. We're going to see more of that, and more of that kind of language and terminology, easy for me to say, certainly in the next coming weeks. I mean, especially as we get more deep into this, and this does become more protracted as well, because if those reports are accurate, that we're going to see we're going to see multiple rounds of bidding. Then again, we're going to get more. We're going to get more interviews. We're going to get more of anything, certainly, and we're going to get more discourse about what people like and don't like. Again, and again, my hope is that it just doesn't get nasty. But it already has. Again, talking about social media, certainly it has as well. What else are people saying here in the chat? Let's take some thoughts. Let's take some questions for the last 5-10 minutes or so. Tank says tough game against Leicester tomorrow. Indeed, tough game. I mean, amid all of this discussion point, there is a game tomorrow on at Old Trafford. Of course, it's Manchester United versus Leicester. We kind of forgot about title race. Did you see that actually? The eagle-eyed viewers that were watching last night, if you watched till the end, you saw Flex say that we're in a title race. It was a bit of a cliffhanger. I just forgot about that. I just remembered. Yes, towards the end of the show, I asked Flex the question. I said, "Are we in a title race?" And he said yes. And then the end card played, and it was like, oh. So Flex is saying that we are in a title race. Do you believe that to be accurate? I still say no, but certain results might change things. I mean, the lunchtime kickoff today is Aston Villa versus Arsenal. Ask me after tomorrow, honestly. If Arsenal drop points today, and make no mistake, Villa Park, Unai Emery, good evening. Ooh. That could be interesting. That could be very, very, very interesting. And I mean, kind of in keeping with the takeover discussion, one thing I have said is that there is a lot to be positive about with Manchester United at the moment, because if you do look forward to whoever these new owners are, look at what's going on at United at the moment. Glazers are leaving. Tick. Oh my goodness me. What a tick that is. You've also got a fantastic manager, Erik ten Hag. One of the best managers in the world. One of the best coaches in the world for me. Tick. You've got us fighting on four fronts, competing for trophies. We're in a final. We could win a trophy this season. Tick. I mean, we're talking about title, but top four. That was our aim before the season, and a lot of people didn't think we were going to get that. Top four looks a real possibility, and that gap between us and whoever's in fourth and fifth, I mean, not so much fourth because Newcastle are in fourth, but fifth certainly, which I think is Spurs, getting bigger and bigger. So you would hope that come next season, or come the summer, there could be a lot going right for Manchester United. We're in the Champions League, and we've got new owners that want to spend, whoever they may be. And when it comes to whoever that new owner is, back this manager. Don't look at it of going, right, it's a new era, it's a new Manchester United, we've got to get in our own manager and do our own project. No, the project is there. And that's what makes this attractive too. The project and the team is already there. Just support it, facilitate it, and work on all of the outside things at Manchester United as well, and you're laughing. Because it's ready-made. You've got the manager. Sometimes that's the most difficult thing. Find the manager. You've got him. You have him right there. Support him. Ask him what he wants. One of the first things you should do when you purchase this club is have a meeting with Erik ten Hag and say to him, hey, what do you want? What do you need? I'll give you what you need. And I'm sure Erik ten Hag wouldn't say, oh yeah, I want every single Galacticos kind of player. I want to have PSG's front three of Neymar, Messi, and Mbappe. I want to have Mbappe, Osimhen, and Harry Kane. I want to have them all up front. He wouldn't say that. He would pick these specific particular players, and the role should be for whoever the new owner is. Okay, give Erik what he wants. Give Erik what he needs. Even if it is Frankie de Jong, even if it is Jude Bellingham. Again, even that is more possible come the summer when you say, hey, Frankie, I know last season you were a bit unsure. Hey, we got Champions League now. We got new owners. Those deferred payments, don't worry about it, mate. We'll give you that. You're worried about Manchester. We're improving Manchester. So that has to be the key thing as well. And as I spoke about all of these possible owners coming out and maybe doing these interviews and expanding more on what their plans are for United, that's got to be a big question as well. Is what do you plan to do to support the manager? What would your thoughts be on Ten Hag? And I would hope that any of them, whether it's Sir Jim, whether it's Qatar, whether it's the USA, whether it's Saudi, whether it's some bid we don't even know about at the moment, I would hope they would all say, well, fantastic job, he's the guy. First thing I do, Ten Hag, what's your contract length? What is his contract length? Is it 5 years? 4 years, whatever it may be. Give him more. Give him more. Give him a new contract. This is what you're getting. Or, those training facilities that you want to be improved. Here you go. At the state of the art, whatever you want, Eric, we'll give it you. Double it. Give it him again. Because this is the guy. This is the guy. This is the guy with the vision. The vision on the playing side is already there. You don't even have to think about that. Sometimes that's the hardest thing. And my goodness me, if they have a different... And again, I understand people might want different coaches. Like when they buy a club and it's their club, they can do what they want ultimately. But what other coach in the world would you rather have than Erik ten Hag at Manchester United at the moment? There is no other manager. They're legitimately, it's not even like, because what did Ten Hag say when he came in? Era's come to an end. It feels like we're on the precipice of the Ten Hag era. It's and if they truly are fans of the club, whoever they are, whether it's Sir Jim, whether it's this Sheikh Jassam Hamad Al Thani, who is a United fan, if they're United fans, they'll know. If they're true United fans, they'll really know. King of the Indie says, Owen, what if the new owner wants a new manager? Well, it's kind of what I've just been talking about. If they're a proper United fan, they shouldn't, honestly, because who else is out there that is better than Ten Hag right now? You could argue maybe like Pep Guardiola in terms of what he's achieved, but he's a Man City manager, so he's not coming. No one. I don't see anyone else that you would go, oh yeah, he's maybe better. They're in. So again, that's easy. That's an easy part of it. Give Eric what he wants. Back him. And I don't just mean transfers, because not everything's just about transfers. I mean his vision. Back his vision of everything he needs, everything he wants. The best, managers and owners and executives are the ones that can listen and the ones that can delegate. And the important thing will be to delegate to Ten Hag. The playing side of thing, that's you. You've got that covered. No problem. Because it already is. And he's already done it with the shackles that he's had on him, And he's been doing that. I mean, he got a 2-2 draw at Barcelona at the Camp Nou. And we should have won that game 4 or 5-2 without Weghorst as a 10. And I thought he played very, very well, Weghorst. But in the grand scheme of things, you don't really want to have Weghorst as a 10, honestly. You want to have one of the best in the world, or the right people in the world as the 10 position. So just imagine. Imagine. It's absolutely unbelievable. Be sure to smash a like on the like button, guys. Still got over 1,000 people watching. 274 likes. We can do. I'm going to be that sort of stern teacher. That's that stern parent that just gives a look. We know we can do better. We know. I mean, I don't need to say it because Palmeiras has just said it. Disgrace cheat. Coco Black says Erik ten Hag is a tactical genius. The players respect him. Why would you get rid of him? And I really don't think they will. I'm more saying that it makes it easier. It's done. Just sometimes the hardest. Sometimes what's difficult when you do have a takeover of a club is that you do. You go in there and you go, the manager's probably not the right manager, and there could be better options out there. There aren't better options out there. We've got the best option. Easy. Done. No problem. One less thing to do. As I said, that side of things, a lot of the things at United aren't ready-made, but there are certainly aspects of it that are. The playing side of things, ready-made, just needs a little bit more. The ability to make money at Manchester United, revenue streams, already there. The appeal, the exposure, the size of the appeal of the club is already there. And sometimes that's the hardest thing as well. Look at these clubs like Man City and PSG and Newcastle. I mean, Newcastle's got a huge fan base, certainly in the Northeast, in the UK. But around the world, it pales in comparison to Manchester United. That's the hardest thing. City, they've been owned by the Abu Dhabi since, 2008? And still, they don't have anywhere near the global appeal that Manchester United do, because that takes decades upon decades upon decades upon decades. It takes history. It takes legit global history. And that is something you cannot buy. And so there are aspects of lots of things that are ready-made, certainly, about Manchester United. Again, and the playing side of it is also, or the managerial certainly side of it, is part of that as well. And just finally, this was tweeted in the last sort of 10 seconds or so as I wrap things up. Once again, coming from Mike Keegan of the Daily Mail, saying Qatar offer to Manchester United is around £4.5 billion, takes into account debt the Glazers have kept on the books and likely the costs of infrastructure upgrade. Now, again, that was reported that they were, to be fair, the numbers that we had heard early on, about £4.5 billion. Whether that's enough for what they're looking for, the Glazers, I don't know. But of course, I am certain that more information will be coming to light very, very shortly. So, as always, guys, make sure you subscribe, bottom right-hand corner, click the notification bell, because I'm sure there'll be some emergency lives over the next few weeks. Of course, as well, there's so much content going up. Preview later today, in addition to the match view tomorrow, fan views tomorrow, and all that fun stuff. And, of course, Barcelona in the week as well. So, a big, big week ahead. I'm out of here. Have a great Saturday. Have a great weekend. And I'll speak to you again very soon. Peace.